Have you ever felt a fire burning in your chest because of something someone said? Maybe a coworker took credit for your hard work. Maybe a driver cut you off in traffic and laughed. Or maybe you sent a thoughtful text and were left on read for hours. In those moments, it feels like the whole world is against you. Your heart beats fast, your face gets hot, and you want to scream. But here is a truth that might change how you see every person you meet. No one can steal your peace unless you hand it to them on a silver platter. Every time you get angry, you're giving your power away. This is the story of a man named Oliver. And if you have ever felt overwhelmed by your own temper, this story is for you, too. Oliver lived in a busy coastal town called Port Haven. He was a young man in his late 20s, strong and hard-working. He spent his days at the docks, lifting heavy crates and moving supplies from the ships to the trucks. It was exhausting work. The sun was often hot, the air was thick with the smell of salt and old fish, and the noise of the cranes was constant. Oliver was good at his job, but he was famous for something else: his short fuse. Everyone in Port Haven knew that if you made a mistake near Oliver, you were going to hear about it. If a coworker was a few minutes late, Oliver would shout. If the lunch lady forgot his extra napkins, he would slam his hand on the counter. He felt that the world was full of incompetent people who didn't respect his time or his effort. He believed his anger was a shield. He thought that by being loud, he was showing people they couldn't push him around. His mother often told him, "Oliver, you're carrying a hot coal in your hand, waiting to throw it at someone else, but you're the only one getting burned." Oliver would just shake his head. He didn't understand. To him, other people were the problem. He was just reacting to a messy world. One particularly bad Tuesday, the heat was almost unbearable. A group of sailors from a large ship began making fun of the way Oliver was stacking crates. They laughed and called him slow. Oliver felt the heat rise from his stomach to his neck. He dropped a heavy box, walked right up to the biggest sailor, and screamed until his voice went hoarse. The argument became so loud that the port manager had to come out and threaten to fire Oliver. That evening, Oliver sat on a wooden bench by the water, his chest still tight. He felt miserable. Even though he had won the argument by being the loudest, he felt empty and tired. He looked over and saw an old man named Silas. Silas was a retired fisherman who spent his days sitting on the stone wall, watching the waves. Everyone loved Silas because he always seemed to have a smile on his face, no matter how stormy the weather was. People called him the Anchor because nothing could shake him. Oliver walked over and sat near the old man. "How do you do it, Silas?" Oliver asked, his voice shaking. "How can you sit here so calm when the world is so loud and people are so rude? Today, those sailors treated me like dirt. I couldn't just stay silent. I had to show them they can't talk to me like that. But now, I feel like I've been hit by a truck." Silas didn't look up at first. He just watched a small boat move far out into the water. Finally, he spoke. His voice was soft like the evening breeze. "Oliver, have you ever noticed that when you shout at someone, they usually shout back? And then you get even angrier? It's like you are both trying to put out a fire by pouring gasoline on it." Silas stood up slowly and grabbed an old bucket. He dipped it into the ocean and brought it up, full of salt water and dark sand from the bottom. "Look at this water," Silas said. He took a stick and began to stir the water as fast as he could. The sand swirled around, making the water dark and muddy. "This is your mind when you react to everyone. When you let those sailors or your boss or the heat stir you up, you can't see the bottom of the bucket. You can't see the truth. You're just a mess of spinning sand. So, what am I supposed to do? Just let them win?" Silas smiled and set the bucket down on the flat stone. "Watch," he said. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Slowly, the sand began to settle. The dark clouds in the water sank to the bottom. After a while, the water was clear again. You could see the small white shells at the bottom of the bucket. "When you stop reacting," Silas whispered, "the sand settles. When the sand settles, you have clarity. Only then can you decide what to do. Most of the time, you will realize that the dirt people throw at you doesn't belong to you unless you catch it. Why would you want to hold on to someone else's dirt?" Oliver thought about this all night. He realized he had spent his whole life catching every piece of dirt thrown his way. He was covered in it, and he was tired of being dirty. Over the next few weeks, Oliver practiced. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. One morning, a truck driver accidentally backed into a pile of Oliver's crates, knocking them over. Oliver felt the old fire start to burn. He wanted to run over and kick the truck tire. Instead, he closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "Let the sand settle." He took 3 deep breaths. He walked over to the driver, who looked terrified, and said, "It's okay. It's just wood and fruit. Let's just clean it up." The driver was so shocked by Oliver's kindness that he worked twice as hard to help him fix the mess. That night, for the first time in years, Oliver didn't have a headache. He felt light. He realized that by not reacting, he had kept his energy for himself. He had kept his power. But the real test came a month later. Those same sailors returned to the port. They saw Oliver and decided to try again. They gathered around him while he was eating lunch. One of them knocked his water bottle off the table. Another one made a mean joke about his family. The old Oliver would have been in a fist fight within seconds. This time, Oliver just kept eating his sandwich. He felt the anger, yes, but he watched it like a cloud passing in the sky. He didn't let it land. Finally, the biggest sailor got frustrated. He threw a wet, dirty rag onto Oliver's shoulder and said, "What's the matter? Did you lose your voice? Or are you just a coward now?" The whole dock went silent. Everyone was waiting for the explosion. Oliver slowly stood up. He took the rag off his shoulder and set it neatly on the table. He looked the sailor in the eye, not with hate, but with a strange kind of pity. "If someone offers you a gift," Oliver said quietly, "and you refuse to take it, who does the gift belong to?" The sailor blinked, confused. "It belongs to the person who tried to give it, I guess," he muttered. Oliver nodded. "Exactly. I refuse to take your anger and your insults. They are your gifts, not mine. You can keep them." The sailors didn't know what to do. They looked at each other, felt embarrassed, and walked away. They never bothered Oliver again. You see, you can't have a fight with someone who refuses to fight. Years passed, and Oliver became the manager of the docks. He was known as the most respected man in Port Haven. He didn't lead by shouting. He led by staying calm when things went wrong. When a young worker would come to him, red-faced and screaming about a mistake, Oliver would take them to the water's edge. He would tell them about the bucket of sand and the gift that no one has to accept. He would tell them that real strength isn't found in a loud voice or a closed fist. Real strength is found in the space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. He would look at the ocean and say, "The waves will always come, but you are the shore. Let them wash over you and head back to sea. You stay exactly where you are." We often think that being tough means reacting to every slight and standing our ground with aggression. But the truth is, the most powerful person in the room is the one who is in control of themselves. Life will always bring us sailors who want to test us, trucks that knock over our crates, and heat that makes us cranky. We cannot control the world, and we certainly cannot control other people. However, we have total control over our own internal weather. Every time you choose peace over a quick, angry retort, you're building a stronger version of yourself. You're teaching your brain that your happiness is not for sale. You're deciding that your peace of mind is worth more than being right in a meaningless to think about who holds your remote control. If a stranger's comment can ruin your afternoon, they are the boss of you. If a mistake at work makes you miserable for a week, that mistake is your master. Take your power back. Breathe, let the sand settle, and remember that you don't have to catch the dirt. If this story helped you find a little bit of calm today, please subscribe to the channel. We share stories like this every day to help you build a stronger mind and a more peaceful life. Don't miss our next journey together. Subscribe now and join our community of growth. Your journey to a better version of yourself starts with one calm breath. Would you like me to write a short daily meditation guide based on Oliver's sand and water lesson to help you practice this week?